Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, thank you for listening this beautiful Thursday morning. Hope you're doing well. 6 minutes after 11 o'clock, and Dr. Nelson is in the studio. I'm going to give a shout at his first name, Dr. Grodonoff Nelson. Dr. Nelson is a primary care provider with family care specialists here in Ocala, treating patients of all ages, and the phone line is open, so if you want to call him with a question once we get started and find out about the topic, which I believe is high blood pressure today, you are welcome to call. The number is 622-WOCA, 622-9622. Remember, that is the WOCA Climate Control Source Hotline, so thank the guys over at Climate Control for sponsoring the phone line. Dr. Nelson is a primary care provider with family care specialists who treat patients of all ages. So I think I said that already. And with Ocala Health System, I wanted to make sure I mentioned that. Suzanne Santangelo brought him in here. So we're going to talk about hypertension, also known as high blood pressure. And good morning, Dr. Nelson.
Hey, good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being in here. You know, one of the things that I like about donating blood, Robin and I donate blood almost regularly, is that they give you that information. They say, oh, here's your, it's like a mini physical when you go there. Yeah.
It's important. It's important to, really keep up with your blood pressure, find out, whether you're normal, abnormal, whether you're in, the pre-stages of developing hypertension. A lot of people don't realize that the more mature you get, the higher your chances of developing hypertension. And sometimes it's just due to genetics. Sometimes it's because of the way we eat, our physical girth, size. So it all depends on those factors.
Yeah, I'm sure that has a lot to do with it. Mm-hmm. But yet you hear about sometimes people who are not heavy at all having high blood pressure. Is that genetic?
For the most part, it's genetics. At times they develop hypertension just because their father, mother had hypertension, just gets passed on. And unfortunately, regardless, they could be within a normal weight, and they develop hypertension or high blood pressure.
Does high cholesterol and high blood pressure go hand in hand?
To some aspects. The thing is with hypertension, when you have such a elevated blood pressure, it causes damages. It damages the walls of your arteries, and the cholesterol deposits end up lodging to those walls. And with the increasing blood pressure, if you develop a clot, that could end up causing a blood stroke, or having you have a high likelihood of developing a heart attack, which is very unfortunate.
So kind of walk us through, if you don't mind, what actually happens when our blood pressure is elevated. Like if I picture a garden hose getting fatter, is that what happens? The garden hose gets like bloated or something, and the garden hose might get weaker itself?
In a sense, that's a good example of what goes on. You have increasing, think about the heart pumping harder than it should against pressurized hose, like you were saying. Okay. What happens is the pressure gets backed up. Your heart has to work harder to pump through that narrowed space, and that causes your heart to become larger, become weaker. And if, let's say, like I said before, if you have cholesterol deposits, and you have decreased blood flow to certain areas of your body, such as the eyes, which high blood pressure could affect the eyes, could affect your kidneys as well. So you want to make sure you decrease that pressure so you don't have so much stress on your heart that's pumping through that decreased size of that vessel, kind of like a hose. Okay. So when you have that pressurized system going and it's too high, the likelihood of you developing heart failure and things, that increases as well.
Do we feel anything when we have high blood pressure? Do we feel anything at all?
Majority of individuals, they call it, in a sense, a silent killer, because you don't really feel your pressure is high. But sometimes you do have some symptoms. Like some individuals, they have a headache. Sometimes they feel like the back of their neck is hurting. They just kind of have a sense of a little malaise, like they feel down and out, fatigue. When you start having those type of sensations, I call it as if your body telling you something's wrong. If your body's screaming out to you, go get checked out. It doesn't hurt to go get checked out, see where your blood pressure is at, get your physical, get your necessary blood work to see where you're at, standing medically, and then you'll be able to make a good decision as to what steps you need to take.
Should we trust those high blood pressure machines at the pharmacy?
I think it's a good start. If you're able to go in and just, hey, let me check my blood pressure. Let's say you go to whichever drugstore, you go in and check your blood pressure. If you notice your blood pressure is high meaning your blood pressure is above 140/80, definitely go see a physician. If your blood pressure, what they call pre-hypertension, so before hypertension, is above 120/80, that's considered pre-hypertension. Still, I would say get evaluated, decrease the amount of salt that you're taking in, try to decrease.
Salt. See, I'm bad with salt.
Yeah. I mean, they recommend that you ingest only 2 grams to 2.4 grams of sodium per day. And the way you could calculate that is, looking behind a package insert to see how much sodium, especially if you look at soda, some of the sodas out there, they have high amounts of sodium.
It's unbelievable how much sodium is in soda. So do we have, like, when, I guess I got 2 questions in one, that's why I'm stumbling here. I was going to ask if there's anything natural that we can eat, drink, or whatever to lower our blood pressure, aside from staying away from salt. And if not, then the actual medications that people get for high blood pressure, what does it actually do when something does lower it? What actually happens?
Well, it's 2 very good questions. The first of which is changing your diet. The way you go about changing your diet is, again, like we said, decrease the amount of sodium that you're taking in. And the other way to go about it is increase the amount of fiber. 30 grams of fiber per day is recommended.
Really?
Exercising at least 40 minutes a day for about 4 days out of the week. It doesn't have to be anything where you're running, at a fast pace or anything, but just walking for 40 minutes a day. That helps decrease your blood pressure, and staying within a range of your BMI, which is your body mass index, and the range an individual should stay in is between 18.5 to 24.9, and it's calculated in different ways. The metric system, you could calculate it by taking your height in, or taking your weight in kilograms, dividing it by your height in meters squared. But you can just go online and do a BMI calculator.
Why do some children have high blood pressure? Is it because of the pressure that the parents put on their kids to excel or do things?
A lot of times we're noticing now that a lot of kids, unfortunately, they're overweight. 50% of American children are now overweight, which is contributing to the epidemic that we're having with hypertension and obesity. Stress can cause your blood pressure to increase. A lot of individuals that come in, to our office, if you ask them how many hours a day they're working, we're putting in 8 to 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. That's a lot of stress, especially if they have a stressful job, and that could cause their blood pressure to increase. But kids, for the most part, stress that they have at school, and if they're working, could cause that. But we're noticing that kids are ingesting way too much salt, just as much as adults.
I got to stop with the salt, bro. That is my big bad thing. Dr. Grodonoff Nelson is in the studio. He is with the WOCA Health System, and he's answering questions right now, specifically about hypertension or high blood pressure. We do have a call, and you'll need the headphones to be able to hear the caller. Everybody's invited to call if you want to call. The number is 622-9622, and the doctor has his headset on. Let's go to the phone. Good morning. You're speaking to Dr. Nelson.
Yes, good morning, doctor.
Hey, good morning.
The question I have is a person that receives a new heart, a transplant, can that correct high blood pressure, or can it not happen if a person does have high blood pressure not to get a new heart?
The way to go about controlling your blood pressure, a lot of the blood pressure medications work on the kidneys, actually. So the medications cause what they call the renin-angiotensin system, not to get too complicated, but it causes that system to adjust itself where you're able to excrete sodium with some of the medications and able to decrease your blood pressure by acting on the kidneys. Some of the medications do work on your heart, such as like a beta blocker, something like metoprolol, that a lot of individuals do take. But at the same time, it's not just one specific thing that decreases your blood pressure. It's a collection of different medications that work on the kidneys and the heart to get your blood pressure to where it needs to be. So to answer your question, not necessarily getting a heart transplant is going to decrease your blood pressure, but making sure that you take the medications, do the necessary lifestyle changes and modifications to your diet to get your blood pressure down to where it needs to be.
Yeah, what effect does high blood pressure have on, let's say, a person coming down with a stroke?
The thing is, it's very important to, one of the main ways to decrease your chances of developing a stroke is to keep your blood pressure within normal limits, meaning less than 120/80. If you start having a blood pressure above there, you're able to increase your chances of developing or having a stroke. So you want to make sure your blood pressure stays well below 120/80. If it starts increasing beyond that, especially 20 points over 10 beyond where it needs to be, then we need to get you on medication. Sometimes 2 medications to help decrease your blood pressure.
Thank you.
All right.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Do women who are pregnant, do they take some kind of blood pressure medicine if their blood pressure seems to go up, or will that be bad for the baby?
Different types of medications are needed when a patient is pregnant. Some medications they have to definitely stay away from. Medications like lisinopril, losartan, names like that, they need to stay away from those. But certain medications they need to take in order to decrease their blood pressure, so it's at a safe zone where it's safe for the patient and for the baby. Because if they do have increasing blood pressure during their pregnancy, the chance of them having eclampsia, preeclampsia increases, and that's detrimental to both the mother and the child.
Oh,
Wow.
okay.
How, just curious, you work with patients all the time, and I'm sure you give them the good advice all the time. They may not follow it all the time. But if we can talk maybe about the ideal patient, the person who comes in, you've diagnosed them with high blood pressure, told them exactly what to do. They come back maybe 2 weeks, a month later. Do you see it changing like almost immediately as soon as they change their lifestyle?
Great question. I see that all the time. Perfect example, had a patient when I started here in Ocala, came in and his blood pressure was sky high, cholesterol was sky high to the point where, it was could almost be to a point where we needed to admit him to the hospital.
Wow.
But his diabetic, the whole 9 yards, everything you could imagine. Hasn't seen a doctor in over 15 years. We have a lot of patients that haven't seen a physician in 15, 20 years. Come in, he listened, we put him on the proper medications. He decided to change his life around, eat properly. We came back, his labs look awesome, almost near normal to a person that doesn't have any disease process. He's eating right, he lost a good amount of weight, and it's not even drastic. Losing 15% of the weight that a person has, kind of regardless, unless they're extremely large, could definitely make a big difference. Decrease the blood pressure, cholesterol, everything. So it can be a change. It's not impossible.
Wow. Now the cholesterol thing, let me ask you about this real quickly, because Robin and I donate blood usually the exact same time. We're usually at the blood center at the same time. She eats better than I do. My cholesterol is always better than hers. So it's got to be something hereditary. And I'm not saying that I can, I'm not Superman. But what can she do, since she's actually eating like more vegetables than I am?
I mean, the thing is that genetics play a big role. Some individuals, they could be extremely slim, exercising, doing everything. Their cholesterol is ridiculously high, and they have to be on medication in order to help prevent them from developing heart disease, developing a stroke. So definitely genetics has a role to play in it. Maybe your genes that were passed down to you are, in a sense, when it comes to cholesterol, are better. You're able to reabsorb the cholesterol much better. So again, continue with exercising, continue with eating properly. It's definitely going to help you in the long run, in conjunction with the medications. I always say, don't just depend on the medications as the cure-all. It's our activities, what we do in conjunction with the medications that are going to help.
Now, where's your office? Where are you?
We're located at 2300 Southeast 17th Street, Suite 402, in Ocala.
And what's the name on the building?
It's it's in the Teal Brook Plaza, and it's Family Care Specialist. Okay.
And do you this time of year, people get stressed out for whatever reason, or driving, you get angry at another driver. I'm guessing you always hear that elevates blood pressure. Could that literally put somebody over the top and cause them to have a major problem?
I always talk with my patients about that. If let's say you come in and your blood pressure is 140/80, which puts you in a position where you're hypertensive, you have high blood pressure.
Bad time.
So if let's say you're at 140/80 and you're like, well, it's not too bad, I'm okay. But let's say you're in a car accident or somebody cuts you off, you get really angry, or you get a stressful situation at work, and you shoot up by 30 points. You go up to 170/100.
Wow.
Your chances of developing a stroke increase dramatically.
Wow.
So that's why it's important that we get you below 120/80 with the proper medications. So if let's say you do have that stressful situation, you shoot up by 30 points, it won't be as bad. But 20-30 points, you'll probably be at 140/80. Your body could handle that. Your vessels could handle that. But if you go way beyond that, you could probably end up in the hospital or, unfortunately, die from that.
Why is it that when some people break all the rules, they drink, they smoke, they don't eat right, they're healthier than the person who doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, and eats right?
Well, I can't say if they're going to last in the long run. It probably is going to catch up with them. Then again, some individuals have great genes. Their father lived to 110 years old.
You always hear about those guys, right?
But the thing is that I always tell patients is that the ones that don't make it, you never hear their stories. So you always hear the stories of the individuals
right.
that they lived forever, but the ones that were drinking and smoking and doing all that, they're not here anymore, so they can't give you their story of how know. So it's always the few that make it that always brag about how they live horribly, but then they always make it.
We've got about 10 minutes. If you are out there and would like to ask the doctor a question, you are invited to do so. It's a good idea to call in, and maybe if you're worried about yourself or maybe somebody else, high blood pressure, or I'm guessing anything, really. I mean, anything's up for grabs, but we're focusing on high blood pressure. The number is 622-9622 if you'd like to speak to Dr. Nelson. If you'd like to speak to Dr. Nelson privately at his office, I would say go down to his office. Can they call you?
They call. The number is 352-351-0120.
Okay.
Again, that's 351-0120.
Okay. And it looks like you have one coming in right now. Let me grab. Oh, we got more than one. Let me grab these one at a time. Good morning. You're on the air with Dr. Nelson.
Good morning, Dr. Nelson. Larry, this is Bob.
Hey, Bob.
Hey, good morning.
Supplements. When you're talking about diet, are there any supplements that can help lower the blood pressure naturally? That you can take in addition to your healthy eating?
Good question. The thing is that we highly recommend that you make the proper lifestyle modifications. That's the big thing. Not necessarily over-the-counter supplements to help decrease your blood pressure. I know some individuals that go ahead and take like a over-the-counter diuretic, like a water pill. That could possibly help, but the prescription strength, which is researched well, we're able to know that certain milligrams could help decrease your blood pressure further. Usually we'll start the patient with a low dose medication if it's appropriate. If their blood pressure is not too bad, we'll start them with a low dose medication, sometimes with a water pill, and get that down. But for the most part, I would highly suggest that if you find out you do have high blood pressure, take 3 months, 4 months, try to get it down yourself. I'm not saying go immediately on blood pressure medication unless you're extremely high. But you can start with the proper lifestyle modification. If you drink and you're male, 2 drinks per day maximum. Female, 1 drink per day maximum. If you're a smoker, quit. If you're unable to quit, get help to quit or cut down significantly on the pathway of quitting. Do those specific changes that we talked about, decrease the sodium to 2 grams per day, and I think you'll be on the right pathway to getting over this high blood pressure dilemma.
It's a little hard to cut that salt down. Everything you look at has salt in it. Everything has added salt in it.
Exactly. If
you eat out a lot, my goodness.
Definitely.
A whole week's worth of salt in one meal.
That's really true.
Yeah, the research shows that
eating
out definitely increases your chances of developing hypertension because they put salt in everything in order for it to taste good. Everything you eat, processed foods, microwave foods, all that's full of salt.
And we have another phone call. Let's go to the phone. Good morning. You're on the air with Dr. Nelson.
Yeah, what do you do if you have really low blood pressure? Sometimes mine is too low to donate blood.
Good question. The thing is about low blood pressure. It's recommended if your blood pressure is too low and you're symptomatic, meaning like you're getting dizzy, lightheaded all the time, then it's something that you need to make sure you're evaluated properly by your physician. Low blood pressure is not horrible if it gets too low and you become symptomatic. That is a definite issue that needs to be addressed. But yeah, low blood pressure, make sure that you keep yourself well hydrated. Some individuals are not well hydrated at all. They're drinking, less than the recommended 6 to 8 glasses of water per day. And I put the emphasis on water per day. Go ahead.
Okay, I do the water. That's not an issue. But I was wondering, does this have anything to do with the fact that I'm usually cold?
Well, when you mean cold, like you get constant chills?
Well, no, I'm just, when other people are comfortable, I'm cold.
Well, sometimes we find that can be an issue where different fluctuations in the weather, the temperature does have an effect on the blood vessels. And for some individuals, they react differently to different temperatures. That can be a contributing factor to the fact that, your arteries are contracting because of your sensation or your, sensitivity to different changes in the climate. So that can be a factor, but I can't say for sure that it's the cold weather that's causing your blood pressure to drop.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right.
Or maybe the other way around. Maybe the low blood pressure makes her feel colder.
Can be.
When you say symptomatic, what are the symptoms of low blood pressure? What might she be feeling?
Well, she could feel really lightheaded, dizzy.
Oh, really?
Kind of your equilibrium is a little bit off. When you get up too quickly, you kind of feel like a sensation that you're about to pass out. So it's important to get evaluated to make sure that your blood pressure is not running too low, and figure out why your blood pressure is so low. Some individuals that, like I said before, their hydration is very poor, especially the more mature individuals. When you get up to above 65, 70, 80 years old, you need to make sure you keep yourself well hydrated so your blood pressure doesn't drop too low.
We have authors all the time. Well, this time of year, we get a lot of authors who are recommending different lifestyles of eating, because everybody wants to change. New Year, it's always the resolution time. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that we've had at least at least 6 books, I guess, about either becoming a vegan or becoming a vegetarian. What are your thoughts on eating meat? Does it contribute to high blood pressure? Or?
I mean, to me, I always say, if you're going to go ahead and make a lifestyle change like that, go on ahead, but make sure you do it right. Make sure you supplement properly. Make sure you, compensate for the lack of vitamin that you may be missing, vitamin B12, lack of protein that you may be missing. Don't just eat fruits and vegetables only. Make sure you supplement properly on, depending on which direction that you go. Make sure you're having the appropriate, well-balanced meal that you need to have in order to, keep your nutrition level to where it needs to be baseline.
Is hypertension just associated with high blood pressure, or do some people that have ADHD and the syndromes when they come back from the war, is that associated with that also?
You mean like post-traumatic stress disorder and everything?
Yeah.
So the thing is that with post-traumatic stress disorder, a lot of individuals, their stress level increases for, depending on what went on that caused them to have that reaction where, the overreaction. Say, for example, July 4th, for a lot of individuals with post-traumatic stress disorder, especially if it's war-related, is, very intense time because of the fireworks and everything. That could cause their anxiety and stress level to increase significantly to where, their blood pressure can increase. So it's something that, they need to be evaluated. They need to be monitored to see if their blood pressure is where it needs to be. The way we officially diagnose hypertension or high blood pressure is 2 different readings at 2 different visits. So if let's say you come in today, we'll check your blood pressure and it's high. What I do in my office, I give you a blood pressure log. You track your blood pressure for the next 2 weeks or a month, have you come back. We'll do a second reading in the office, and if we notice your blood pressure is consistently high at home, then we'll probably go ahead and start you on either blood pressure medication, depending on what the patient wants to do. We may do lifestyle modifications and things. So,
wow. Good advice. And I know in 25 minutes it's hard to answer every question, but you've done a pretty good job. Robin, are we supposed to give these away?
Yes, we have two $10 cards, and she'd like to give them both to one listener for the holidays.
Oh.
It's a $20 prize.
And the $20 that Robin's referring to are a gift card, 2 gift cards worth $10 each. Will go to one listener, and this is for Lori's Gift Shop in
the Ocala Regional Hospital.
Okay.
And West Marion Hospital.
Do you ever go shopping there?
No, not yet.
All right, so we'll give these 2 away if we just just call in. I guess I don't have any trivia or anything like that. Just call in if you want them. The first person who gets through gets them. 622-WOCA, $20. Not bad, from the gift shop over at the hospital. Not bad.
Ocala Regional.
Ocala Regional, yes. Make sure we mention
And
that.
West Marion Community Hospital.
Oh, there's a Lori's Gift Shop over there too?
Yeah.
Okay. But your office again is?
It's at 2300 Southeast 17th Street, Suite 402. The number is 351-0120. We are accepting new patients at the current moment. If you don't have a physician, a primary care doctor, come on in. We'll be glad to have you. We'll do our best to take care of you. The team we have there works well together. Okay. And we'll all be happy to take care of any patient.
I have another question or two, but I want to give away the cards. Let me give away the cards first. Good morning. You've got the 2 cards. You got $20. Who's this?
Who is it? Hello.
Good morning. Who's this?
Henrietta Savage.
Henrietta, do you know where we are?
Yes, I do.
We're in the Paddock Mall now. Okay.
Okay. When should I pick it up?
What are our hours?
Any day, any weekday until 4:30.
Okay, could I have someone pick it up for me because I'm sort of disabled?
Sure.
Certainly. What is the last? What is the first initial of your last name?
My last name is S.
Okay, excellent. We'll have them right here for you with your name on it.
Okay, and could I have my friend pick it up, my caregiver?
Yes, that will be just fine.
I won't be able to come.
Okay, no, that will be just fine.
Okay, and could I pick it up this week or next week?
Yes, you can. You have 7 days.
Okay, thank you so much, Robin.
Thank you very much, Henrietta. Nice to speak with you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
So thank you, Henrietta. The only last question I guess I have is the new healthcare laws that are going into effect. That will, we hope, enable more people to get the care that they've not been getting. Like you mentioned, the one guy, 15 years without a checkup, right? Mm-hmm. And I know this is more of an insurance question than a doctor's question, but do you think you'll see people using that? And that's kind of a weird question to ask you to speculate like that. But I get maybe the better question is: can we use that? Can we use it if we don't have anything wrong, just for a checkup? Can insurance be used just for checkups?
Well, the thing is, we always make sure that we tell patients preventative care is big.
It's care.
It's care. So if what you don't know can hurt you, so definitely come in, get checked up. Find out, if you have high cholesterol, if you have high cholesterol in your family, the chances of you, having those diseases increase. The chances of you getting it exists. So make sure you get checked up. If you're fine, the doctor should tell you, hey, you're fine. Yeah. Just follow up with us in a year for a yearly physical, or, once every 6 months, just to make sure everything's cleared. But definitely I recommend get checked up, get a complete physical, blood work, the whole 9, just to make sure, hey, I'm good to go. I'm healthy, to some aspect.
So if you're signing up and you haven't had health insurance, and this is the first time, here's the difference between the auto insurance and the health insurance. Auto insurance, you never want to go get that. You don't. Yeah. You want that one to be something you pay and never see again because you don't want to wreck. But with health insurance, you could actually use it to prevent something bad from happening. So
yeah, definitely. If you could go ahead and get checked up, so you prevent yourself from ending up in a hospital with some devastating disease, or a heart attack, stroke, definitely, which can impair your daily activities. Then I would say, by all means, get checked out. Make sure that everything's okay. That you're cleared.
All right. Do you celebrate Christmas?
To some aspect.
I mean, I'm just asking so that I don't want to be improper. If you celebrate nothing or something different, or
I celebrate the holidays.
Well, happy holidays, then I'll put it that way.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming in. Thank you for answering our questions,
no problem.
and actually for stressing the importance of this. I think it's a real important.
To all your listeners, I mean, if you didn't catch the number or anything, you could just Google Dr. Nelson Ocala, and my name comes up, just find our information and come in and see us.
And you can also call us. We'll be glad to repeat it over the phone. And I guess you could call Ocala Health System. They have your number too? They brought you here today, okay? Dr. Grodonoff, Nelson, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We'll take a little break and we'll be right back.
Habitat for Humanity of Marion County is a ministry dedicated to improving lives by providing affordable and decent housing. Help them help others by visiting the Habitat for Humanity Ocala home store on Northwest 27th Avenue. To schedule a donation, give them a call and they'll come and pick it up.